Hello and welcome. It's another Wednesday. It's another We Are Developers Live, and I'm here with my unicorn, and I'm here with my other unicorn, Dan. How are you doing, Dan?
I like that. That's the first time I've been called that, but I'll take it. Yeah, I'm very well. Spring has sprung. So everybody's out doing their gardens and all of that. So if you hear a nice hum in the background, blame it on them. But yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, same here. The amount of people with like scissors and stuff and like cutting and trimming their hedges is just ridiculous. It's quite incredible. I have to fix
Yeah.
my bicycle later, so I have to go outside and do that. But we'll see how many of the neighbors are doing that. And I'm allergic to like all kind of pollen, so when people do like cut their leaves and stuff, it's not fun for me. But yeah, I mean,
No, that's why we stay
that's
inside as developers. It's another excuse. Touch grass, which is bad advice for you at this time of year, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, like being ginger. I mean, I left my youth was in the basement of my parents, being hidden from the neighborhood anyway, so it's all good.
It paid
That
off.
was not an issue at all. Yeah. We have a special guest today again as well, somebody else from Berlin. And I'm very happy that she had time to come in because I've been following her work for quite a while. And it's Kitty Giraudel, which is the French pronunciation. I guess I mangled a
Yes.
bit.
No, it's actually really good. I'm very impressed. I think it's the first time someone get it right. Very nice, very nice. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be
Cool.
here.
So what do you do? Like, what is your day-to-day job delivery stuff that you're doing at the moment?
Nothing, because I'm out of a job right now. So my daily is getting a coffee and then working on my website and playing games and petting the cats and spending time with my partner. But I'm looking for a job. I am looking for something. So I'm probably more in engineering management because I've been doing that for the last 7 years or so. But it depends. I'm also happy to go back to like a developer role. I'm open. I'm free, so I need to find something in the next couple of weeks or months. But for now, I'm enjoying spring being in Berlin. So it's a good time to be unemployed.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it's also a good market. There's always jobs in Berlin. There's always things to have. It's just a matter of like, will the startup still exist by the time they actually sign my contract? Is the question. But that's the other side of the story. And the unemployment benefits are quite good in Germany as well. So that's the other bit.
Yeah, it's a good social system overall.
All right, we got. I collected a lot of stuff to go through, and then I also collected a few ideas that you had. You deep dived a lot on Liquid and Markdown and the Eleventy lately, and I found that very interesting because we wanted to cover that in one of the last shows, and the person then didn't manage to have a good connection. So it would be interesting to chat about that a bit as well. But let's talk about some of the news that happened lately. First one is that WordPress org now actually serves Markdown output for AI agents and developers. I mean, this is not shocking. This is kind of easy to do from a CMS point of view. And there was also a JSON API, a JSON LD API on WordPress for a long time. But it will be interesting to see how many people, how much of a change that brings to the indexing. Because the other side of it was also that this person talked about some research that he did where he published his content as HTML and as Markdown and actually looked at all the different bots, how they actually, the AI bots, how much of them crawled it and how much data they actually pulled from his website and what it meant for traffic for his website. And there were some interesting insights into that one that none of them does like content negotiation, for example. They're just looking at the .md file and basically then index it as Markdown. But most crawlers do the main thing and just click through the website as if they're a user by automating it through things like Playwright. And I find it interesting to see that Markdown has become this like cool thing for AI bots to do because I'm a fan of it because of it's easy to write things in it. I'm not a fan of it because it has not the same fidelity as HTML has. And it's not standardized. That's the other problem with it. And the other issue, of course, is that like HTML is only so heavy on like token usage and parsing usage because we write horrible HTML. And if we had written proper HTML, it would not be that much of an issue, right?
Yes, but at the same time, Markdown will be lighter, right? even with super clean HTML, like Markdown, just because it strips all the boilerplate, will always be lighter. I think the question is more like, how much is it worth it, right? How much of a difference does it make for like token usage? But in any case, like your header, your footer, your navbar, your cookies, carousel, banners, all of this has zero value from a content perspective for LLMs. So stripping them out at the very least would be useful.
Yeah,
it would be interesting to see the legality of it. Like, I mean, in Germany, to have a website, you have to have a colophon and basically tell people who's behind the website and who's the legal entity. And if you don't have that in the Markdown file, is that then a legal issue? Would be interesting to guess that.
Yeah,
That is a good question. I think we're playing fast and loose with legislation anyway, with the whole AI and LLMs. So yes, it's one good question amongst a sea of good questions around ethical usage of LLMs.
For sure, yeah. And I find it interesting that WordPress does that. I mean, that's what I love about when you have CMS that actually are wide-reaching. They can do the right thing. They can actually allow you to publish as Markdown. They could have embedded micro formats in the past. They did like open embeds, O embeds, and these kind of things. These were all there, and it multiplies to millions of users then, because rather than just like people doing it on their personal blogs and do cool stuff for the web that way. I love this messaging that says like it's LLM doesn't write correct code, it writes plausible code.
It's so good.
I found it a very good insight. Yeah.
So the premise of the whole article follows this open source project written in Rust that claims to rewrite SQLite, right? And so, I mean, if you don't really look too deep into it, you're like, that's cool, it rewrites and it performs kind of similar. The benchmark seems to imply it's even faster and so on, right? And then what's interesting, that person is clearly I would say, if not an expert with SQL, at least like an engineer that did a lot of SQL through their career, right? So they can actually look through the code of that open source library and figure out, what is actually happening under the hood. And what's interesting is everything looks good, right? Everything looks legit, but it's definitely worse in every aspect, right? Like the machine, or like the AI agents, like doesn't have the experience of 20 or 30 years of bottleneck debugging, right, in production by actual humans. So I find it very. I find that article resonated a lot, because I think our common experience with AI is that it looks legit, right? As in, a lot of the code that it writes seems very compelling, right? It looks clean, it looks documented, there's README, there's test, but how good is it, or is it just plausible, right? I think it's a good nuance there. It was a really nice read. I can really recommend it.
I thought there was a phrase you used as well, Kitty, where you said we're playing fast and loose, around the sort of legislation. But this article kind of really nails it. And there's this one part that jumped out to me where I was sort of thinking, this shows quite how little we pay attention to like the reality, because we're so excited about AI. And it says LLMs, it's just below the sort of big paragraph at the top of the article that says edit. But it's got LLMs optimized for plausibility over correctness. And in this case, plausible is about 20,000 times slower than correct. I mean, that's staggering, and the fact that then, yeah, I mean, it's just such a crazy number. And then they've got this quote that kind of really puts it, nicely, where it says something like, LLMs have made it possible for anyone with curiosity and ingenuity to bring their ideas to life quickly. And I like that. I think we all agree. But the number of screenshots of silently wrong output, confidently broken logic, and correct looking code that fails under scrutiny that I have amassed on my desk shows that things are not always as they seem. That just sums it up. We're all so excited by the first part, we just ignore all of the cruft and the waste and the token usage, etc.
For sure. For sure.
Well, it's just the auto-completion when you have like a Copilot or something like that running, or a Claude. It always fascinates me when I just write HTML or CSS and it does the thing that is basically not as optimized as I would want it to be. And then it keeps offering me every single time. But I basically, I'm in the middle of typing, and then like, no, I told you not to use that. I like that Copilot in VS Code now has stats in the bottom right, where it actually says like, okay, here's how many times you took the auto completion. Here's how many times you rejected it, kind of thing. But it still doesn't seem to learn that much from it. It still offers you like really like it tries to be too nice and basically like, oh, let me offer you this solution. You probably want that. And you're like, no, I'm in the middle of writing a function. I know what this function is supposed to do. Stop interrupting me. And there is probably a keyboard shortcut to do it, but it feels always fascinating to have like, it's like having an engineer in pair programming sit next to you and like, but we could do it this way. Like, no, let's. Of course, nobody was shocked by that one as well, that basically the smart glasses from Facebook or from Meta, actually they're doing content checking with a third party, I think, in Kenya. So they basically send lots and lots of unencrypted data of people with their video footage of glasses for people to actually check. And they see nudity, bank cards, and sex scenes and all kind of thing. And as the AI training needs human eyes to check it, it's becoming a problem. And I think this has been quite common in like YouTube and places like that as well. There's always like low-income countries where people actually go and have to check all the content of these things, and they see all kind of stuff and don't get any mental help afterwards as well. But it was just like how much that is actually, why is that in Swedish? Okay. I found it interesting that basically somebody just talked about it, and this is how it came out. Last show we had in the Fake On News, we had a thing that there's an app that actually tells you when somebody in your surrounding has smart glasses, and I think this is a good thing because, yeah, the privacy of it is just very much annoying, and there's all kind of apps that do facial recognition from the smart glasses already. I mean, it's more obvious when somebody holds their phone up, but yeah. I'm still not sure if I want smart glasses. It feels like a privacy invading thing to me.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we had those conversations like, what was it, 12 years ago, when Google glasses were, hitting the news a lot. And I remember discussing it with a friend at that time and thinking, kind of that, like, I don't want people to have the ability to just take pictures or record without giving any signal that they are doing as such, right? Unfortunately, at the time, Google Glasses flopped massively, and essentially no one used them. Right? At least I can only say in Europe. I don't think I've ever met anyone wearing Google Glasses. Right? It's probably worse now in the sense that I guess those glasses are better than the Google Glasses, and also now with AI, I guess you can just do so much more with it. I think it's a concerning sort of privacy implication in there.
I think Google Glass still is used in the military a lot. This is where I heard it found a second life. It found like a second lifeline to a degree. The same with like HoloLens as well. Like that also kind of vanished. So yeah, I mean, Google Glass was an interesting one. I remember when it came out and people were in San Francisco and they're like, oh, people are against technology because somebody attacked me for wearing Google Glass in public. And you're like, it was at a rally against Google for prices of rent. He was wearing it, and you're like, well, it's not surprising, It's like going in an SS uniform to a punk concert. You probably will not be a friend of everybody there. But yeah, it's interesting. But it would be interesting to see who's actually a user of glasses and actually is very happy with them. But I felt the extra step of just taking my phone out and taking a picture is not that much to ask for. And yeah, but I heard that basically they're selling more Ray-Ban glasses ever because they're smart glasses now than before. So it's actually for the sunglasses or the glasses creators, it's a very good thing to have. But then again, I wear glasses anyway, so it would be pointless for me to actually guess that kind of thing. I saw the other day that you could now hearing aids together with the glasses, that they're actually in the back of the glass. So that's pretty cool as well, that you can do these kind of things. Yeah.
That's always going to be the difficulty, just before we move on that, I suppose, is that, you know, that there are genuine uses for so many people. And, you know, we wouldn't want to kind of like restrict, you know, the accessibility uses, and that it could be an assistive technology and things like this. But I, like we're saying, I don't know how, especially in Europe, with the attitude that we've got around privacy and GDPR and things like this, I don't see how it kind of doesn't, or how it kind of gets through, because I think we've also got some of the wider issues around. I've seen stories with streamers, you know, that will go and they obviously film people that don't want to be on the stream, and they've got thousands of people watching. Now they're doing it with Google Glasses, and so it becomes this kind of public nuisance and monetizing public nuisance. You know, I just think it shows that we're in this bubble around the technology, but actually, like in a wider kind of in the wider world, people are talking about this, and you know, the problem is that the law doesn't move fast enough, isn't it? It's always the issue.
Yeah, for sure.
This was also an interesting one, that there was a GitHub issue. The title actually compromised 4,000 developer machines. So basically, it was in the package JSON. It actually installed OpenClaw on post install, and yeah, a lot of people then actually realized that they wanted to use Klein, and out of a sudden they had OpenClaw running on their machine as well. But it was it's a very, very interesting, like, detailed post about how that all happened. So that was quite amazing.
It's very sophisticated as well. I mean, it's not the most sophisticated, but it is not a trivial, like, vector attack vector. There was definitely a couple of steps that I can't remember if it was a proof of concept or if it was like legitimately compromised. I think it was a legitimate attack. There was definitely a few steps. There was a prompt injection via GitHub, so that was, you know, you had to find it, but it was doable. But then there was quite a few more steps. I remember reading through that article and thinking, you know, this is detailed, and someone that really thought through the different sort of layers of infiltration, which is very scary. I think it's not new, but it's still every attack like this is always like, you know, oh, we're a couple of sort of very subtle mistakes away from like a security disaster.
Yeah, I mean, a post install allowing an npm install, to me, and a global one, is actually a security problem for me to start with. But that's the thing. Like, a lot of these things out there are just very permissive to start with, and that makes it easy for people to embrace them and start using them. But then they don't realize what they're installing. And yeah, I mean, I've given up on my Node module folder. I have no idea what most of these things are in there.
I remember, I think it was at N26, if I'm not mistaken, when we had a security audit, we had a recommendation to disable post-install hooks. I think it's doable via npm. You can just say like install without running the post-install hooks, exactly for those reasons. Because if you really need a post-install hook, you can probably write it somewhere else in your pipeline, and it's such a risky sort of attack vector. So I think there's general. I've seen more than once the recommendation to just like turn them off so that you don't risk something like this.
I mean, yeah, that's one of the employees that you were before. You were at N26, which is an online bank. And who else did you work for?
I worked at the Gorillas, which was the grocery delivery company that's run for like a year and a half. It was like the fastest unicorn in Europe, and then run out of money. So it comes back to what you said earlier about dead in startup life. And then over the last 2 years, I was in medical compliance. I was in a company called SciLife, and we worked with pharmaceutical company, hospitals to do like auditing software, basically.
Oh wow, yeah, that's like an air gap solution kind of thing. Like, yeah, yesterday I was at an event here in Berlin, and it was all about like analytics, the companies and database companies for like retailers. So it was like Lidl, Aldi, and all those people, and it's just lots of bank stuff. So it was interesting to talk to those people and like, see that not everybody is just permissive and just installs whatever, but they're like, yeah, we have to have a 3-month analysis of anything that goes on our machines.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
This is also not too surprising that LLMs are actually really good at getting like pseudonyms or like names to real people. especially as when people just use the same name everywhere. And it was interesting to see that, like, a lot of people, and I'm wondering about this. Like, I'm always like, okay, pseudonyms are a good thing to actually do, but you always wonder, like, why do people have to use them? Like, either it's something they do something illegal, fine, then basically it's good that they're actually being tracked. But doxing somebody from a username with an LLM is the other side of the equation there, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I think we have to also remember a lot of kids use the internet and they don't want their name to be there, right? And not all of them do shady stuff, right? And I think it's becoming a big problem if you can start really de-anonymizing vulnerable people, especially kids. Right? I mean, as you said, it's not surprise. It's not. I think the problem is more like how convenient it's becoming, right? It's if you can do it reliably and cheaply and fast as well, I assume, right? I also imagine it's fast. Then I guess this makes it very easy to fall into the wrong hands. But I also don't really know how much we can do about this. This was already doable before. It just needed a human sort of human supervision, human analysis of things like this, right? Now you just can script it.
I mean, there's many ways. I mean, there was this Proton thing as well, where somebody had a Proton mail account and basically was anonymous and did something against the US government. And they found out that person not through Proton itself, but actually through the billing. So he basically, I mean, it's great that you use an anonymous VPN or something, but if you actually pay with your credit card, you shouldn't be surprised that somebody finds out your identity that way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that is. It's like was it Al Capone being charged on tax evasion because that was the only thing that was like provable.
Yeah,
I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's basically this.
I guess, I mean, I don't know if it's apocryphal or not, but I think jaywalking was invented for that as well. Like, basically, when you cross the street, not at a traffic light, that being an offense was a chance for the police to actually stop people and harass them and like, or like investigate them. And turned out that a lot of people of a certain color were stopped because of jaywalking and other people weren't. So that was the flip side of that one.
There was an episode of Law and Order Special Victim Units like this, where they just eventually catch someone just by jaywalking. Exactly.
That's the one with Ice-T. That's the one with Ice-T in it, isn't it?
It is. It is. Wow. My partner is a big fan, so every now and then I just like catch a glimpse of him.
That's amazing. I mean, it is sort of like a really good debate, though, isn't it? This whole thing, it's like, is the harm or that people cause when they're using pseudonyms sort of outweighed by like your right to do it? It feels like if it is, like you said, Kitty, if it's very cheap and easy to do, then is this like the end of the anonymous web? Is it? I know it's something we could do in the past, but with it being so quick and easy, is it just this idea that like now we don't need, this idea of people having to submit passports and IDs and things like this to use the internet? It's like, maybe that isn't, we don't need it at like a government level. Maybe we just need, AIs to be so good at doing it that we use our real names out of fear of being doxed anyway.
Yeah, but that would be horrible, wouldn't it? Like, I mean, you wouldn't, as said, like if you're a vulnerable person and you don't want to have your name there and you just want to be part of it. And people have been abusing chat systems for a long time. I mean, Bebo in England was used for people for planning terrorist attacks and these kind of things. So you basically never know who's behind a pseudonym. Yeah, it's a tricky bit, but yeah, we'll see what comes out of it.
I think we probably need a lot of awareness. If I can, probably need to raise awareness as well. That like every little bit of information you give about yourself can be used to reconstruct your profile, right? And I don't think we are at a point where collectively as a society we understand that, and I especially don't think the younger generations also understand that. It's not just the name or the pictures, but any sort of tidbit of information that you expose online can be used against you, essentially. Right? Yeah.
It's fascinating. I remember I gave a talk about this special topic. The other day, I went through my cupboard and I found a T-shirt from the 2006 Barcamp Paris that basically had your name on it and like the things that you did. And my talk there was about that you always leave footprints online no matter what you try. And like, yeah, it's still the same thing. This one was part of the fake on news as well, I wanted to be part of it, and I love the story. It's basically somebody wanted to use a PS5 controller to control his vacuum cleaner, of course, as you would, and ended up controlling thousands of robots that basically, because they're all were using the same protocol or the same identifier, and then the company now gave him $30,000, thank you, and fixed the bugs. So I found that really cool. Like, not only
It's such a good
that, like,
story.
yeah,
Such a good story. Just the premise of it, just like one guy, one nerd wanting to like control his Roomba with a PS5 controller is just already like peak technology, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the fact that it was just an like insecure API. Yeah, it's. I think 30,000 is, if we think about the amount a little bit. I think 30,000 is good for the individual. Is it really only what it should be
yeah.
rewarded with? Like, this is 7,000 robot vacuum. That means they have 7,000 in the wild, right? Because they use a single API token for all of them, which means it's not like just a subset of their fleet. I guess 7,000 is their fleet, right? At least in that country or something. And then he had access to live camera feed and audio and could map the place of every single of those vacuum cleaner. That's an insane amount of compromising data. And also, you know, from a compliance and GDPR perspective, it's also terrible. I don't know if it was in Europe or in the US. US, I guess, because it's dollars. But I wonder if 30 is lowballing. But I guess it's good for him. It's a nice paycheck, right? Yeah.
Well, they were forced as well. They were kind of pressured. Looking at the details, the person who hacked it, which is so sweet, because again, he says he didn't hack anything. He simply encountered the flaw. You know, as you said, trying to connect it to the PS5 controller, which I love the visuals of that, of him accidentally bringing 7,000 of them to life. You know, whilst just getting his own one to work, not realizing he's like made the rest of them wake up. But yeah, he alerted The Verge. And The Verge then went and told the company, and they went and fixed it and didn't credit him. And so then The Verge put pressure on, and so did Popular Science. And so then they paid him. So yeah, I would have probably, you know, negotiated that and said, let's at least double it because you've been cheeky. But yeah, just shows.
But good. I think it's a good resolution, right? Like the finder got rewarded, the flaw was fixed. The company can continue hopefully relatively unharmed, and also probably better their security practices. So it's a healthy resolution. So I think it's pretty good, and it's relatively harmless in the grand scheme of things. Again, this guy did not do anything nefarious with the data and just reported it. It got fixed. You know, it could have gone wrong one way or another. Right?
Well, the other thing is Google now makes Gmail, Drive, and Docs agent ready for OpenClaw, and I don't know how to feel about this. Like, I mean, I pay for my workspace in Google because I've got like 20 years of information in Gmail. And yeah, no, I really, when people say like they want to automate stuff in Gmail and Docs with like LLMs, and I'm like, no, this is actually, that's a safe that I paid for, rather than like just let this do. And I mean, that lady from Meta that deleted her whole inbox by like asking an LLM to do it shows that this is probably not a good idea. But I guess they have to stay relevant and not just force people to use Gemini instead, or I don't know. But it was interesting to see that, like, I felt uneasy just reading that headline.
I felt a little bit tempted by it, though. I can't lie. The fact that there's the different, you know, it was it's kind of, I'm torn on it in the sense that I agree with you, Chris. And then you see it in there saying, you know, and this is essentially Google saying, we know our APIs are a little bit kind of, you know, clunky and disjointed and not very well connected and not very well documented and things like this. So we're going to make this big improvement, and this is going to be the way forward. And that to me was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And I'm now, you know, the hypocrite that I referred to earlier that forgets all of the worries because I'm like, that's really exciting and convenient. Yeah, I don't think we need it. Just, you've got a good UI as well. Use that we don't need everything in the CLI, if I'm honest.
I have a genuine question. What would you like to automate on Google? Like, I'm also a big fan of the Google Suite. I've been using it for, I don't know, as long as I've been, you know, working in the industry. but there's genuinely nothing. There was never a case where I was like, oh, I absolutely need to automate this, and it would be good if I could. Like, what do people want to automate?
I can think of one.
I guess summarizing texts, automatically generating headlines, these kind of things. I mean, these are things that I hate that people need to use an LLM for, because as a writer, I want to actually control this as well and not just like do it. So yeah, I don't know any use case that I would think of. I mean, what I like that features that came into Gmail over the years, that like, for example, that you see orders are now being tracked in an own little bar on top rather than just being part of your inbox. I like that kind of stuff that automatically says like, okay, or workflows that if you actually have a second authentication thing, that it actually finds it for you and does that stuff. So that's an interesting one. But then again, I don't want a third-party LLM and especially not OpenClaw to do that for me.
Yeah, of all of them, this is the one I do not want on my data.
Yeah. Dan, you said you might think of a use case.
Yeah, I mean, I thought of one that was just, recently I generate invoices and they come out pretty much the same time every month. And I do a little bit of conversion of sort of pounds to euros. And I thought, okay, that would be a nice thing to set up and maybe automate. Again, I would still want the human in the loop. I would want to check it. It's just that very boring process of Googling those few steps. The problem is that the time it would take to automate it, it's not worth it, right? It's it's to spend 3 days to automate something you could have done in 2 seconds. But there is, I still think, this sort of space for maybe this, maybe making it quite an everyday thing. I don't think it necessarily needs to be a really, kind of really deep technical thing you need to learn, but there's still some space for us maybe setting up automated flows in Google. And again, that could be in the UI. I don't know if it needs to be in the, CLI.
One thing that also I found interesting was this paper, and Dan, you went into it in more detail as well about like deception by design. It's like dark patterns of the McDonald's self-ordering kiosk flow. And I mean, I realized that right now, I think McDonald's has become slower because of these checkouts. Like it feels to me, I mean, I built a lot of like baskets for like e-commerce sites, and it was always like the basket should be on the side. You put something in there, and then when you're ready, you press it and go through it. But the kiosk in McDonald's always has like a full takeover, showing you the basket and having 3 clicks to go through the next one. But it's more nefarious than that, right, Dan? It actually gets you to buy more things.
Yeah, completely. And I mean, on this, there is a wider story about sort of McDonald's and dark patterns and their application and things like this in general. But also the fact that, like you said, Chris, the UX can be quite strange sometimes. It's things like add this as a meal. And, it doesn't always feel like it's actually the smoothest it can be. But when you read this on the kiosks, it's a bit more kind of, dark than that, really, because I was saying that I think I'm a relatively intelligent person unless you stand me in front of a vending machine or one of these kiosks. Because I don't know what it is, but I feel like they overcomplicate it for me. And it's things like, and it says here, time pressure. As soon as I feel that pressure, I start making impulsive decisions. And that's where, for me, I don't know if you both relate to this in the same way, but the color of buttons for me is a definite trigger for, action. If I see the blue button that's like next, 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 and then they put one in that's like cancel, go back, but it's still that blue button, I've clicked it and I've gone round in this loop getting frustrated, and it's kind of like I then have to slow down and find where the bad pattern was, or the dark pattern that made me go round in this loop. Or I just hand the phone to somebody else and say, I don't know what's going on. And I kind of, admit that I'm too old to understand it. It was really, do you know what? It was really nice to actually hear this and go, yeah, these kiosks are showing the psychological side of technology, and they're not always working with us. This technology is not always our friend, especially kiosks with me. My enemy.
Yeah, and then of course there's the app as well that goes with the companion app, where people get like, today this is cheaper and that is cheaper, and I see people being confused in front of it and for 5 minutes trying to get like the 20-cent cheaper thing, and I'm like, your time is actually worth more than that. Like it feels very bizarre. So yeah, I mean, Kitty, you're French, so you don't like fast food because that's why you eat snails, right?
How many stereotypes can you put in one sentence? But I will not bash you on this. I take no pride in being French, so it's all fair and square.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
there's a kebab joint just on my place in Berlin, and I go there every now and then when I don't have anything in the fridge and I want something fast. And they recently replaced. They recently put a dashboard like this, a kiosk, right? Like a digital one. So you used to like talk to the person at the behind the bar and order, and now they put that kiosk thing. And I think the same thing. It's like it's just either poorly made or poorly made on purpose to keep you like sort of in the loop of like adding things to your basket. Every time I struggle to just essentially just add what I want in the way I want it and then pay. Every time I need like extra clicks, come back, cancel, do it again. And this is when it works because it also crashes one time or two.
Yeah.
Well, my thing that also drives me nuts is that the payment is still part of that little reader on the bottom. Like you go through the whole great big interface, and then you basically like and now type in your PIN code and go to the reader there, and it's like you're not interacting with the thing properly. It feels like very bizarre that you have to then put your card down there and type things on the bottom rather than do everything in one interface. So it feels really unoptimized. And it was interesting that somebody wrote a whole paper on it, so that was pretty cool. There's a fake networking group, the rejection of artificial generated slop, and it's hilarious. Like bastard operator from Hell Task Force. So if you've read a lot of specs, this is a hilarious read. It's actually quite fun, and it's kind of sad that I've enjoyed it that much, but it's really good. And the other thing that Zeltman was actually posting about as well was like the Batman Forever website and how it was one of the first ones to use tables with like different outlines and these kind of things. And it's like really cool to go through the history of the web and how web design became a thing, because that one was breaking a lot of like ideas that you had before of how a website looked like. And I remember that working on websites for movies or for movies coming out was like a really cool thing for designers to do, because you can go wild. Like this in half a year's time, nobody cares about this website any longer. But for now, you can actually get people excited about it. That's why the Space Jam website is still the big thing that everybody shows about when it comes to HTML. And I always like hated it because I had to build websites that people use, and I couldn't use those things because they were basically so bleeding edge. But it's fun to actually think about back in these things. When I cleaned up the other day, I found a bill that in 1996, I built a website for a company and built them 300 Deutschmark for it. So that was basically one of the oldest things that I found, how I made money with HTML. And that was just felt a bit like that as well. It's really cool.
Very nice.
Cool. A few tricks, tips and tricks. We gotta go move faster because we're actually quite deep into it right now. Claude said like a chance to actually import everything from ChatGPT or that used some there. I think that's a good service because it makes sense to actually not start from scratch anymore. Navigation API is another big thing that is interesting to look at. And Dan, you said you're going to write something for the magazine on that and play with it in a second. Yeah. And measuring the soft navigation speeds as well is another interesting part, because we're getting away. I mean, the SPAs, we had that for quite a while, but now with transitions and everything, we're getting more into like, how do you measure the quality of a navigation that is not loading or doesn't give you a feedback mechanism that it is loading? How do you do that? It's interesting to see the web platform getting into that space and trying to reinvent that one as well, because we only had the history API in the past, which allows you to seed the history but not have more granular control over the navigation. And there's a big collection of tools called Akusa for some reason. And
because it's the developer's name. It's their, I was confused. It's their website. It's their personal website, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's two things in there. There's basically speed test and also down detector. They got both sold, and they're actually part in this one in a free version or in an independent version as well. So that's why I found it.
So my understanding of it, I might be wrong. So really, this is just my understanding, is that this person just rebuild like tools that they need or they know I assume with AI, to have built 300 of them in that time. And so this is just a, again, a rebuild of existing tool, right? I think they're all proprietary in the sense that that person just built them all, right? And I don't know how much tracking there is on this.
Yeah. It's impressive, though. I mean,
yeah.
Then again, I mean, this is always the story that people say, like, that's what vibe coding is about. You can build your own app to solve your own problem. And you're like, well, this problem has been solved 15 times. Like a search on GitHub would probably yield the same results. But you rewrite it over and over again and discard it immediately. It's interesting. But yeah, lots of tools going on there. And yeah, the design is very much like, we're back at the like gray on gray with like not much. I mean, the text has enough contrast, but the outlines are just like, okay, you don't see it in sunlight anymore. All right, we got a cat.
Yes, he wants to be hey. Cool. It looks like a site built with AI as well. I mean, it looks very clean. I think it looks very clean, but I think it looks kind of neutral, which is typically the kind of thing that
cool.
AI would.
Okay,
yes?
So now we're at the stop where we're going to say we play fake or news. So we're going to take a look at like headlines, and you're going to tell me if they're real or if I made them up. So let's play fake or news. A YouTuber made an EV powered by 500 weight batteries.
Definitely, for sure. There's a nerd that did that.
Yep, it's news. Xiaomi, I never know how to pronounce it. New smartphone constantly charges battery using ambient light.
No, surely not.
I don't think that's possible. It would be awesome. I hope it's news. I think no.
No, it's fake. But I've got a watch that for the last 20 years. I mean, it would not be impossible. You know, like that's a solar panel watch basically inside it. So court filing shows that IBM tries to standardize and copyright Markdown.
No, I'm going to go with no. I don't think there's any money in there, so I don't think they would.
It's fake. Musk testifies tweet that led to 44 billion lawsuit may not have been my wisest.
Yeah, understatement.
So many things. Yes, exactly. So many things that can be told about him, but it's not his wisest. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, it's news. He said that in court.
Wow.
Less typing, optimized TypeScript engine beats C++ in memory consumption.
No, I would be impressed, but no, I don't think so.
Nope, not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly.
As moon interest heats up, 2 companies unveil plans for a lunar harvester.
Yes, it's hyped right now.
Yeah, go for it. Go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's news. Car tire sensors can be used to track drivers without their knowledge.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
definitely.
Anything about tracking is always correct, for sure.
Terrible, isn't it?
Any news headline about tracking is always true.
Oh, wow. You really got into that one. Data has weight, but only on SSDs. Hard drives get heavier the fuller they get.
No.
Surely not. But I don't know. I don't know anymore. No.
Yes, it is news.
Oh, really?
They actually found that out. That's why when I'm going on a scale in the morning, I always have my mobile phone with me, and I can always say like it's all the videos that I downloaded. It's not me.
I need to read into that. This is very interesting.
Google faces wrongful death suit after Gemini allegedly convinced a man to die and become digital.
Oh, that's tragic. I'm going to say that's true, though.
Who uses Gemini? No way.
Yep, it's news.
Always go with the opposite.
That is very tragic.
Clawbot discovers upcoming Windows features in registry when Microsoft scrambles to release them.
Yeah, Clawbot is in the news. That seems possible.
Yeah.
It's fake. I mean, I really wish, I really hope that people don't give Clawbot access to the Windows registry.
Yeah.
That would be a very bad idea. But yeah, that was fake news for this time.
Nice.
Well done.
Awesome.
Then let's go back and talk about what you're doing with Eleventy. One of the things that I found you doing is automatic table of contents. And I had to use that. Is that on the document itself, or is it actually on the whole folder collection?
It's done on a per document basis.
Okay.
So within the template from Liquid or whatever nunchucks, whatever you want, whatever template you use, you give your content, so the final HTML content, to a function, and that function finds all your headings, H2, H3. You decide how deep you want to go, right? And from there, essentially return a tree of like an outline, a document outline, and then you can use that to loop over it, render some HTML, and render your table of content. So the logic is actually quite easy overall. Like, I mean, the practice is quite easy. Basically you feed the HTML content to a function that finds and generates your table of contents.
So it feels like the outline algorithm in HTML that basically never went anywhere in terms of standardization as well. Like that was always
I think in 2016 I wrote a piece of open source code that was called Outline Audit, and it was a bookmarklet, and you could run it on any page, and it would essentially compose the document outline, and then tells you whether you were skipping some levels, whether you were misusing some headings, whether you had multiple H1 or zero H1, and it was based on exactly this document outline, which was never standardized, which is a shame. I think it should have been.
Yeah. I mean, it's also the matter of like even with people writing Word documents or like Google Docs documents, anyways, DocDocGo, they don't do the structure properly. The amount of people that don't actually use headlines in Word documents, but actually just make the font bigger, it's just driving me nuts as well, because Google Docs and also Word actually gives you the outline from the heading. So actually, in these word processors, this has been a feature that's always been in there. And but it's just people like painting with numbers rather than just like using structuring for documentation, and that's a very scary thing. Yeah, I mean, in the developer advocacy handbook, that table of content here is actually a huge script that I wrote in Liquid as well, that actually goes through all the docs and does it in there, and it's completely unreadable. And I copied and pasted half of it from Stack Overflow without knowing what it did. But yeah, it's basically that was one thing that I was really looking forward to, and would be probably the next bit that we should tackle here. But yeah, because, I mean, Dan, you took a look into Liquid, and I'm, as somebody who knows 8 different programming languages, the syntax of Liquid just does my head in still. It's just very bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels a little bit like I go back to, I said about the days of kind of using WordPress and not knowing any programming languages and just seeing jQuery and being like, it can't be this, that can't be what people are writing. Feels a little bit like that. But also there's something that's sort of quite nice and concise about it, that does feel like really satisfying about the templating and kind of the power that it has with actually doing very little. I haven't played with it much. I'd looked at it after our last, when we kind of dipped our toes into it. But yeah, I do think things like this are really useful though, just because of the fact that I was thinking then, how often now people just reach for LLMs to do something that's totally over the top. This is a great solution because the information's already there. And you don't need to go and use your tokens and generate an entire workflow off of something that the information's already there. So I'm a big fan of these things.
Also, it's interesting because I knew I wanted to build it, right? Because again, this is a statically generated website, so I wanted it to be done at build time. And then when I asked Cursor about it, the first thing it did is like it created a runtime JavaScript version that just operate when on page load, and then finds all the headlines, generate that table content, and then inject it inside the DOM, which is in the context of a statically generated website, the fundamentally wrong approach. Like, this is just a terrible trade-off. Like, there's no win in doing it at runtime. It's heavier, it can fail, you have less control over the layouts. Like, it's just loss across the board. And that's, if you don't know any better, right, then you just ask Cursor or whatever to help you with generating a table of content. This is what it's going to do. it's going to do it at runtime, which is a shame.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, that's what most people think it's like. I mean, that was the whole idea. That's why I love Eleventy. That basically it's HTML and CSS at the end of it. You can write some extra JavaScript to do it. But I mean, the idea of just generating the HTML from templates and includes and GitHub pages supporting it is just a very cool thing to me. Like basically, I host HTML, CSS, but I can have the extra features that something like PHP or Python or Ruby would give me. But I don't even need to learn that. I need to go there because the publishing mechanism already supports these kind of things.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I think Eleventy is a really nice software. If you refresh this page, because I think it's a bit old now. I did something today on. I mean, maybe it's like you might need a hard refresh. Maybe it's you have your service worker that's cached. I've
there we
there we
go.
go. On the latest, on today, I published something around what we discussed at the beginning, right? So having a markdown version with Eleventy, and it's nice. Eleventy is good software because it does, I think, the right level of abstraction. That is that it definitely fix or like solve the part that is uninteresting and already solve things like actually copying files, generating files, running through templates. But it gives you the flexibility of using the language that you want, the templating engine that you want. It's not too opinionated. And I think it makes it enjoyable, at least to me, it makes it enjoyable to work with because I get the sense that I remain in control of what I can do, want to do, and how I get to do it, right? I'm not really boxed into like a framework.
Yeah, no, I mean, I find the immediacy of it. I mean, it's there anyways. Like, so why would I not use it, kind of thing? Like, why would I go through an extra level to do it with like JavaScript on the client side or whatever other things you want to do? So this table of contents then is actually generated by that other thing, right?
Yeah, so it's it's something I no longer think about, and it's just I can opt out. So on some articles I opt out from it on a per page basis. I can just say like skip it. Because sometimes you have like two titles and having a table of contents just doesn't bring much. It just adds visual noise, right? But one thing I would like to do, I haven't looked into it, is being able on a per page basis, being able to turn off a certain level or a certain depth, right? So basically say only give me the top level because we have like, I don't know, like 10 H3 and then it just gets too deep and too noisy, right?
We got H1 to H6, and I only seen H6 in like academic papers. Like I've never seen it in the wild. Like,
I mean, no, we've seen it a lot, but not legitimate usage, right? More because people wanted a smaller title.
oh
right?
God, yeah. It's a bit like back before we had CSS and people used nested block quotes to indent things. That was another thing.
That's it. I draw the line there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Unhinged.
One thing I loved in CSS, which I used in the handbook here, is that sticky header thing. I think this is really cool, that this is just a CSS feature now as well, that you don't need to do anything else, that just saying like keep the header sticky, and that used to be a JavaScript thing, and that's just been done with CSS now, and that's pretty cool.
I mean, the language is getting so good, honestly. It's even from the talk from last week, we've seen that, right? It's just it comes a long way, right? And we all started at different times, but I think we all been in the fields for a long time, and it's funny to look back and see how different it is and how more like cleaner and more powerful it is now.
So are you using Eleventy locally, of course, as well, not only on your live machine, or are you cowboy coding that stuff?
No, I run it locally. I think I mean it's so lightweight to run. So I've always run it locally. I think maybe tomorrow or the day after I'll probably publish something around adding tests because I've been working on it a lot and I've been breaking it a few times as well. I decided, okay, I need to like have a quick way to write some tests for not having to poke around the production build every time I change the layout or something. But yeah, I tend to work locally first, at least. And I also write inside my code editor. I write inside VS Code or Cursor or whatever, because I write in Markdown, so it's like a nice sort of environment. I never really needed to do it in Google Doc or something. I think a text editor is just
same with me. I use VS Code as my text editor, and the inbuilt Markdown preview is really working. This is nuts. You're actually using Liquid to write Markdown, and I was wondering, like, is this an HTML comment? And you're like, no, you actually have to put. It's the front matter that you have to render out.
Yeah. So this I had to ask Cursor how to do it, because I'd never had to do it before, so I wasn't too sure how to prevent Liquid from thinking this is a YAML front matter. And so essentially you need to strip out or make those fences literal. So that's the way to do it, or one way to do it. I'm not sure.
I mean, there's one fan. I didn't know that you could have a literal string just inside the braces. So that's because what I did in the past was I used an assign to a variable and actually rendered out the HTML and then reused that as a variable.
Yeah,
that always felt like very, very inefficient to a degree,
But I think if you drop in the URL, if you drop the anchor, and if you add index.md inside the current URL, you should be able to see the Markdown version.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so, this is another weird thing. You then have like liquid tags in the Markdown, which is something that I always wondered, like, what can I do with that? In HTML, I do it by putting comments around it, so it's not rendering into the DOM tree, but actually just in the source code. I wonder if you could do something like that in the Markdown generation as well.
I've asked Cursor like whether I should strip them out, right? And it seemed to imply that. Do you mind? It seemed to imply that it's probably fine. Like LLMs will just understand that this is, I mean, LLM are not strict about Markdown, right? That's the thing. They just want content at the end of the day. They just want to get the meaning. So it's not like they're Markdown parsers and they will reject if the syntax is invalid. So I think Cursor was suggesting that leave them, because it's a good hint for LLMs to understand. It's just a little info note. Right?
You're one of those people that drive me crazy, because when I collect things for the newsletter, I always highlight the heading and then post it into the URL and then actually make it into a Markdown file in VS Code. And I cannot highlight your headings.
I seen that the other day, because it's the same thing. I wanted to like quickly get the text, and I noticed that the other day as well. I need to fix that. I'm also unhappy with not being able to select it. I mean, it's because it's a link, right? I wonder.
I guess it might be a display block thing, kind of, or like maybe you because of the masking you do, you basically might have a touch touch action kind of thing. Don't know.
I don't think so, but I have a look, because this is frustrating not being able to. I think if you double click kind of on the side of the text, it should be fine. Well, not on the link, but in the background, yeah.
Only the first word, though.
Yeah. Double click and drag.
There you go.
Okay.
Triple click on the right-hand side. Okay.
Now, let me just add a tooltip.
Now we're back at doc patterns of the checkout at McDonald's.
No, but I should have a look, because it is frustrating not being able to quickly copy the text. I agree.
But yeah, I want to thank you for writing such wonderful articles as well. Like, there's not many people out there that go into that much detail. And that's another thing when I find, like, writing with a Copilot turned on, they always tell me to make it shorter and make it more flashy, and here's SEO optimized kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's great to see somebody who's actually enjoying being a writer still, and coding and writer. So this is great.
I tried to ask Cursor not too long ago to write an article for me. I was like, look, this is 300 or 400 articles in my blog. Use that as a tone, and then try to mimic how I would write, and then write something about what we just built together. And this is shit. I'm sorry, but like it's just terrible. It reads poorly. It has no charisma, and it has like the weird sort of AI enthusiasm, right? I just
Mhm.
it's just really not good at producing a sort of enjoyable literature, right? Like it has a weird sort of uncanny valley sort of tone.
So I've got 1,810 posts on mine
That
since
is wild.
2004. So yeah,
Are you
would
still
be
happy
interesting
running
to run.
WordPress? Or
I've hacked it so much and written my own extensions and stuff that basically it's hard to get away from it. I use 10% of its features, I think. That's the problem that I have with it. Like I don't use the Gutenberg editor at all.
Okay.
Like I don't use blocks. I basically just write random things. I also don't use Markdown. I actually use Textile because it's not compatible with the old stuff that I've done. And the posts from 2005 are in plain HTML. So I was actually I wanted to move to Eleventy a long time ago as well, but I wonder how easy it would be to get through the mess that it is right now, and actually find out how much reformatting I have to do, and if it's then worthwhile to reformat that 2006 article on me finding something about out in CSS that's not valid anymore.
I think I know there's pipelines to export from WordPress and then just to like something like Jekyll or like just Markdown files. And the nice thing about Markdown is that it supports HTML. So you shouldn't have to actually convert those old posts. You should be able to just like throw them into a template and then they will render the way they will render, right?
Yeah, we did that with the magazine
at
WeAreDevelopers as well. The old articles are in HTML and now the new ones are in Markdown. So that's not that much of a mess. And Leah Varou did write an article when she moved away from WordPress and a script to actually go through your database and convert things. So I might take a peek at that and go again to MySQL. What was it? PHP MyEdit, PHP MySQL, the SQL database editor, that old one.
No, yes. But I remember we've done that at Eden Spickerman as well with some customers. They had an old WordPress website and we moved it to, I don't know what we used at the time, Jekyll probably. And we built an exporter. I mean, they had a very clean API, like WordPress is, at least from what I remember, they had a clean API to export posts. So it was a bit of wiring. I think the problem is more like rebuilding your website in Eleventy, right? Like actually the templates and the font and the CSS and whatever JavaScript snippets you need. This is probably what's going to take time.
It's interesting that these publishing things are still there. I mean, the Ghost owner the other day on LinkedIn posted how much money he makes at the moment, and he lives in Dubai. I didn't know that either. And it's quite fascinating to see that like a CMS is still or a static page generator is still a business model, and it's interesting to see how many people become dependent on that.
Yeah, I wonder how this is going to evolve though. I mean, like there's big players like Sanity, they're trying to ride the AI wave, and they do pretty well. I think they like try to really invest into their whole AI capabilities, but we've seen a lot of companies starting to drop their 100K CMS into like just an AI pipeline that just grab all the data and then just publish a static site, something like this. I wonder how this is going to evolve, and whether some CMS are just going to close because there's less market. I assume there's less market. Right?
I mean, thank you so much for being part of this. This was really enjoyable. You had
Likewise,
a lot of good input.
Likewise.
And we got a double Kitty here. You got a Kitty in the background, a Kitty in the foreground here. That's quite
she's doing shenanigans. Yes.
Oh,
she's still very young, so she's a bit of a mess at home. Just climbs everywhere.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a dog again tomorrow, and it's gonna be interesting because she doesn't bark. She just makes sounds like a seal. And during meetings, people were really confused about that. So it's gonna be interesting tomorrow in our all hands and stuff. So cool. Well, any last words you have for people out there? Anything you want people to do more and things to do less?
Make things accessible. If you don't know what accessibility is, no shame. It's never too late to learn. So go look into it. Try to learn what it means, why it matters. Make your website and web experience available and usable for everyone, including disabled people. This is really important. The web is for everyone. And also hire me. Like I'm looking for a job, so reach out. I'm good at my job. Reach out.
obviously you're knowledgeable, you know your stuff, and yeah, you've done a lot, and it's going to be interesting to see where you end up. Dan, any last words from you?
I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say also hire that way, hire Kitty, because yeah, it's really great to speak to somebody who, as Chris said, is a really great writer as well as developer, because we need those people. And so yeah, we really appreciate you coming on, and yeah, we'd love you to come back again, and maybe a Coffee with Developers episode, but I'll let you organize that with Chris.
That'd be nice. Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks.
Sure. And that's it from us today. That was the live show this Wednesday. See you next Wednesday, where we're going to have another person coming in, talking about some interesting bits and bobs about security and AI. So see you next week. Bye-bye.